All right, all right. Okay, cool. We are going live. Hello, Sue. How are you? Welcome to another installment of Get a Klu in 52, the speaker edition, or four speakers with co-author Sue Mathieson. How are you doing, Sue? What's happening all the way down under from Melbourne?
Hi, Jeff. I'm doing really well. It's. I've had a good week. I've been out doing a lot of networking
Good.
and getting my message out there. So that's been fun. Yeah, it's been
Wonderful,
really
wonderful.
good. But I see you're somewhere different. What are you up to?
Yeah, well, continuing with, a couple of traditions, right? Well, one of the reasons we want to be a coach, a speaker, a trainer, an author is because we can work from anywhere. And boy, am I trying to prove that true. I mean, I remember in April, we did a session from the Bahamas, right? And then I did another session from Cancun and
Cancun. Mm.
Vegas and various different client locations when I am in San Diego. But today, since you've asked, today I'm coming to you from Rhode Island. This is Hercules Pizza. Hercules Pizza Works in Rhode Island, close to the Massachusetts Rhode Island border, where I'm with my family, and just I'll do a quick little. There they are. Hey, anyway, they're in the background over there. They've got their table. There's food on the way, so we try to time this right because we were at University of Massachusetts this morning, and we did the whole tour. Now we're on our way to Rhode Island, 2.5 hour drive. So got off the road at like 13 minutes till to park, find Hercules, find the bathroom, connect to Wi-Fi, right? And I'm doing all of this while they're making the food. So we're trying to feed two birds with one grain and quickly get right back on the road to University of Rhode Island. And then we're going to be in New York City tomorrow. So we started at Syracuse University yesterday, and then University of Massachusetts today, and then we're on our way to Rhode Island. And then we're going to go to Fordham, visit Fordham University in New York City tomorrow. Those are the
Oh,
four East Coast
fantastic.
schools. And so the show must go on, right? All the different
Mm.
locations, and it's not hard to like pull over, connect to the internet, and read a tip. And this is an exciting week because we're starting section 4 of the book, and
Yes.
by now, everybody should know that the very first section of the book was playing the integrity game, and that's gives us the foundation, right, for anything, and including being a speaker or utilizing speaking to advance our career. Then we want to bring out our brand. We want to paint and color and customize and personalize our structure with our competitive advantages, our promises to the marketplace. We want to eliminate the jargon and avoid the curse of knowledge and make things sticky and attention gaining and catchy and sensational. And we talked about all of that. And then we were ready to start working on our actual speech.
Mm.
So in section 3, Be Fearless, we covered 8 steps to fearless public speaking. And we promised every week that the fifth of those steps, the fifth among those 8 steps to fearless, is so important. It requires its own section. And finally, we're here now to start tip number 1 in that section. And so we call it elements, forms, and functions because we're breaking down outlining. In section 3, we covered outlining from a strategic perspective, and now we're
Yeah.
covering it from a functional, tactical, transactional perspective to actually understand all of the elements and cruise through them. So, as always, we like to start every section with some mindset. All right, and today's no different. So, our tip today is about the mind of our audience and setting up what we're going to do in the next 9 tips hereafter, which is really break down all elements of an effective outline. Then we're going to, the last 12 weeks of the year, we're going to talk about practice building a practice around our speaking acumen or whatever practice that we're building, using our speaking acumen to enhance everything that we need to
Yeah.
do. So paying attention to the 12 accountabilities of practice building. So today, our tip number 31, and I want to get right into it, obviously, because my family's waiting on me and we want to get to Rhode Island, University of Rhode Island, as soon as possible. So here we go. Any comments before we get started, Sue, or is that a quick enough intro and summary? We're off and
No,
running.
go for it. Go for it.
All right, here we go. The mind of your audience. So, word for word now, we're reading word for word. In the previous section, we focused on what to do to become fearless in our own minds when speaking. In this section, we focus more on the minds of our audience. Getting and keeping them focused on our speech will require us to get into the bread and butter of your speech writing. Finally, Sue, we can take our deeper dive into right after all the practice promises that we made last section. Finally, Sue, we can take our deeper dive into the 5th step and break down the critical elements, forms, and functions of outlining. There are 9 elements in all, 5 in our introduction, effective transition sentences, which makes 6, and then 3 in our conclusion. It seems simple, but don't let that fool you. It takes discipline to write an effective outline that contributes to the effectiveness of the entire process of preparing. Outlining is not hard to understand, but it is a critical skill and means of organizing our thoughts and managing our content. That's in quotes, managing our content. Well, I'm going to maybe come back to that in a little bit. In ways that allow us to become conversational and connected to our audience in the actual moment of the speech. The tip within the tip here is to understand that all 9 elements we are about to discuss in the next 9 weeks are designed to answer questions that we know will be in the mind of your audience. And even better if we answer the questions for them before they hear them in their own mind. Sue, that's so important to this entire tip. I'm going to read it again. Are you ready? The tip within the tip here is to understand that all 9 elements we are about to discuss are designed to answer questions that we know will be in the mind of your audience. And even better if we answer the questions for them before they hear them in their own mind. Once our audience starts hearing their own voice louder than ours, we are in trouble. In this section, we'll break down the critical yet very easy to understand ingredients of effective outlining that usher audiences through our speeches. I slowed down and I emphasized that word as well because it's super critical to the whole point, right? Usher. We're not just speaking at or to, we're ushering our audiences through our speeches.
I've been looking forward to what you have to share on this. Every time I have seen you speak, including in person and countless times online, I always feel like I know exactly where we are and where you are taking us through the talk. Even when it seemed you were going off on a tangent, you somehow always manage to re-anchor to your structure.
Yeah, that's right, Sue. An outline is like a map telling you when to keep going on the same road/topic and when it's time to prepare to move on to the next part of your speech. It keeps your speech moving forward while making sure you stay on track. This section is all about showing you how to create an outline that makes sure you're connected with your audience while providing you with a template that makes it easier for you to compile your content and create your speech. At the end of this section, 10 weeks from now, at the end of this section, you will see a skeleton. Oh, at the end of this section, well, you can actually flip through. If you have the book, you don't have to wait, right? You can actually flip through on the pages, right? So at the end of this section, I was actually referring physically, not chronologically, like physically at the end of this section, not like 10 weeks from now, 2.5 months from now. Okay.
Yeah.
At the end of this section, you will see a skeleton version of the outline followed immediately by a completed version of an outline for a 5-minute speech to entertain that I've used to teach outlining to thousands of people. And before I continue reading word for word, I can say this. I've shown screenshots of this in the past, and I could easily today if I weren't preoccupied, right? We'll do this. We'll actually take a look at them. I'll bring them up visually in the future. So for those of you out there that may be watching this, tune in again next week, and I'll screen share and I'll show the skeleton and completed versions of the outline, which give us this visual representation for what we're otherwise discussing in text and reading word for word. Here we go. In the sample completed outline, the topic of my road trip to see a baseball game in every major league stadium in 1999 is purposely simple. This enables you to keep a tight focus on the 9 elements of outlining that we want to include in any speech, especially highly informative and persuasive speeches that require researched material. The sample is purposefully simple because this section of our book is all about the foundation, the central nervous system, the vertebrae, the basic pillars of effective public speaking preparation. Coaching or providing you with higher level resources for more intense speeches from a content/purpose perspective is something I hope to get an opportunity to do at a future date. However, if you are ready right now to pull off a persuasive speech of influence or rain-making speech, I also included a guide for using the 5th step for effective persuasion at the very end of this section after the 2 other samples mentioned above. You will see they all follow, and that's a typo right there. I don't have my pen on me. You will see they all follow the exact same outline with all 9 elements that we are teaching here. But the last one focuses the organization of your content on getting your audience to take action. Again, once you've mastered the structure, you can organize any content within it. So let's get into it. Tell them. Something's going to happen. You're going to get mad at me. Don't be mad at me because of how easy this is when you are really mad at yourself for having made it harder than it needs to be. Preparing for public speaking is simply telling them what you are going to tell them, and telling them what you told them. Meaning you need to write an introduction, your body, and a conclusion. Each of these three sections of your speech will have elements and strategy, all of which are easy to understand, but you have to do it. A great introduction will build audience interest, shine a light on your topic, establish a good reason as to why they should be listening to you. Then the body of your speech will take the audience on a journey through the highs and lows, twists and turns, excitement and disappointments of your topic. Finishing with a strong conclusion leaves your audience with a lasting impression of your speech where they know and feel everything you told them. It is easy to stop thinking about what we are afraid of when we simply just start organizing our thoughts into these sections.
And I love this. I can see that a really impactful speech takes a great deal of work. However, if I close my eyes for a moment and visualize myself presenting, doing the work will allow me to share a meaningful message that draws my audience in, and I can take them on a journey to wherever it is that I want to take them.
Exactly, Sue. Tell them, and tell them. It may sound simple, but it is powerful. So that's what we're coming down to. I mean, like, just in review real quick, I want to go into more depth on this next week and get back to my family so we can get back on the road. But the key ideas, the tip within the tip, right, is that there's three pieces here. Number one, that are really important. Number one, the mind of the audience. It's easy for us to anticipate the mind of the audience. There are natural, predictable questions that audiences have in their mind. And if we know them ahead of time, we can answer them for the audience before they start listening to their own self-talk and disconnect from us. So I want to be, should I pay attention? I'm going to answer that right away and grab your attention. What is this about? I'm going to answer that right away and tell you exactly what this is about. Why should I listen? I'm going to tell you exactly why this matters to you. Well, who are you to tell me? I'm going to tell you exactly who I am to tell you. Right? I mean, these are questions that are automatically going to come up. So why don't I handle those right away in my introduction? Right? Yeah. Second main point that's really important is the usher. We want to usher people through. So a lot of times when we think about public speaking, we think about talking to or standing on stage and delivering content to an audience. But what I want us to understand and to consider is that we're not just delivering content, but we want to deliver it in a way from the perspective of an usher. Right this way to the next point, please. Oh, here's where you are. Here's where you're going. Oh, right this way, please. We're headed this way. This is where we're going. We're here now. We're going here now. Hey, now that we're done with this, we're headed that way. All right. And so I want to usher my audience and guide them through the entire way. And then the third
almost like a tour guide.
You got it. And then the third main point that's really important for this this tip as an overview before we really get into the 9 elements and their forms and their functions. Is public speaking is simple. Tell them what you're going to tell them, and tell them what you told them. Like, hey, here's what I'm going to tell you. Now that I've told you what I'm going to tell you, let me tell you. And now that I've told you, let me tell you what I told you. And if we can just really lean in to the simplicity of intro, body, conclusion. I'm going to tell you what I'm going to tell you. Now I'm going to tell you. Now I'm going to tell you what I told you. Intro, body, conclusion. As simple as that is, it's so powerful to help us organize our thoughts, to keep ourselves on track, to keep our audience on track, to stay connected, to be able to riff, to be able to entertain tangents and go in different directions. And the more I lean into the simplicity, the more complex my speeches can be. And so that's my summary of these tips. Let me just hear from you for a little bit before we move on and preview next week.
I actually like that paradox that you just said there, that the more we lean into that simplicity of the structure, the more complex our speeches can be. Like there's an interesting tension point there. And I look forward to being able to explore that further as we go into the rest of the tips in this section.
Yeah, and moving forward, the points I'm going to make in the future is that we don't want to memorize our speech word for word. What we want to memorize are the elements, the forms, and the functions, right? And that's what's going to become more clear. Then I'm not worried about any particular word. I'm not worried about any particular story. What I'm burning into my brain, the grooves I'm burning into my brain are 5 elements of an intro, effective transition sentences, a logical relationship between my main points and subpoints, and 3 elements of a conclusion. That's what I've got plastered on my brain. And now makes it easy for me to access and deliver content that fits that framework. So we're going to get into all of that over the next 9 weeks. This sounds funny, right? Like, but here we are. Look, 14 minutes in, last call. Normally this comes, like 15 to 20 minutes later. But any other comments or questions before I wrap up for today, get back to my family, and get back on the road to support my daughter's college visits?
Yeah, no, nothing today. I think we can explore this further over the ensuing few weeks, and I look forward to that. And I'm happy for you to go join your family and support Abigail.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Sue. As always, it's a treat to be with you. I'm looking forward to next week where I'll be back I'll probably be back in my client. Shout out to AJ Gupta of Gupta Evans and Ayers. I enjoy supporting an emerging law firm, and I really appreciate the fact that they let me use their office every Friday right before I coach them, to get our tip reading done. No, every other Friday is when I see them. But anyway, I'll be back in that familiar environment. I'll be stable, and I'll be ready to go a full 45 minutes at that point for sure. Maybe even longer.
All right. Sounds great. And safe driving on the roads.
All right. Thank you, Sue. We'll see you next week. Thank you.
Okay. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.